Welcome to Unmasking African Truths, where we strive to assist you mameli na umbukele emakhaya to have a better understanding of your African indigenous spirituality. We spoke about the existence of African indigenous spirituality in Africa prior and during colonial and missionary invasion in Africa. During the discussion here, why are black people so hell-bent on following a religion, the colonialism, although studies and research prove that we had our way of living in Africa. Is our ignorance as African people on indlela zethu zakwantu a curse from the spiritual dimension? Yangena imboni yathetha yathi yes, abantu abamnyama mabeflathela indlela zabo zakwantu, and when bathengisa imboni zabo mandulo, lonto le yabazisela isiqalekiso empilweni zabo. So leveki yathi imboni futhi ukuthi we need to be cleansed as an African people ngoba ukudelela abantu bethu, our spiritualist, was a big thing, and we need to be cleansed as an African people. We come with umbuzo othi, what is cleansing in the African context? When you speak about cleansing, it's spoken on an individual context, but not necessarily on a national scale. Or how do you cleanse isizwe? So ndizawushare nani a study, or rather an article that was written titled African Spirituality, Unearthing Beliefs and Practices for the Helping Professions. It was written by Ushalin Singh and Noria Suya Bhagwan. The study is titled, the subtitle is Cleansing Rituals. City study, spirituality can be accessed through rituals or practices that help provide meaning and support. Cleansing rituals are another type of spiritual practice that emerged in the data. Participants indicated that these are often performed by a traditional healer, and that this practice is often carried out after a person has been bewitched or after a traumatic death of a family member. Furthermore, cleansing rituals therefore also form an important traditional healing method in African spirituality that are believed to restore harmony and balance in an individual. Venus, Prince and Wilson supported this notion, saying that they are particularly significant when individuals experience stress, as they can transform an individual from their traumatic state into a state of enhanced well-being. They are in fact intended to assist an individual to acknowledge their pain, and through spiritual connectedness with unseen spirits, transcend these difficulties and move forward. Through the use of herbal medication and spiritual support, the cleansing ritual is believed to affect well-being. Cleansing rituals also make use of water, plants, smoke, fire, and mud to effect healing. As always, Amele Makai, I always say, research without spiritual guidance can be dangerous. Ingago, I always have with me Dr. Uzuleze Khatebe, an African indigenous spiritual guide, a qualified theologian and a qualified herbalist. These researches into African indigenous context. Jabulisa kuwe data.
Yes, Sebingelen. Sibonga kulu, yeah. So, a continuation of the topic of last week. So, I think point number one, to really get clarity, it's always for me now, in mind, it's a mind that wants to understand and put things into order. That's my mind. And whenever things seem not to mix on, I don't function well. So I think let's go back a little bit and ask the important question. And that important question is, was Africa great before?
Yes.
Was Africa independent before? Now, independence, I mean spiritually, politically, with our African political systems, of course, traditional systems, not this Western political system economy today. Were we independent economically, were, etc., etc.? The answer, obvious, is yes. We know it's out there. Many of your YouTubers, and by the way, there are two things going on now. There is an African indigenous spiritual revival taking place, but there's also some kind of an African indigenous spiritual fever, coronavirus or flu / fashion. Hence, nje wonke umuntu ufuna uba yi-teacher without really having the proper spiritual wisdom to do that. Others, uyabona bathwasa, abanye baba ngishidlo zalikho, i-fever leyo. And izawuhamba nayo lo fever leyo, makuhamba isikhathi uyibone ukuthi iyahla. they will be less interested ngoba sebengena nje kwi-fever. But there is true authentic African indigenous spiritual revival that is really taking place ebantwini, because you know that every time there's right there'll be wrong, there's darkness there'll be light. So the fever yilaba abasebengena i-training manje sebefuna uzenza popular. But in any event, a lot of information now that is out there is that Africa was great. We are gods. We were gods before. We were, yeah, it's good. And it's true. It's true. We were great before. But there's not much information of, and then why are we beggars today? See, we are the image of beggars. We are the image of incompetence and poverty in the world. Generally speaking, we are that today. Not much has been said, but why are we where we are? Kwenzeka kuphi wrong? So if my car can't start, or imoto ibihamba yama, the first thing a mechanic must establish is why kunenkinga kule moto, because before ibihamba. So we must always go back to that. Let me use these words. How did Africa fall? The most common reason is that sawa politically. It's a political view that colonizers came and colonized us. But many people don't ask a question, bas colonizer kanjani? What was the real weapons of colonization? It was religion. Bas uprooter from lezi zinto ezazisenza independent and great. They gave us their own systems. And the first one was religion. Bas keeper spirituality. Obviously from that they gave us their own economic systems, gave us all cultures, etc., etc. So obviously when we moved away from Yonke land, we fell. But here's my point. The real reason why we fell was that we turned our backs towards ezethu idalwa, meaning our true authentic spiritual connectors, intermediaries, ezisconnecta nomdali. Umdali, no matter what name is impayona, umdali never directly connects with human beings. Never. That's why religion is failure, because religion claims umtata spoke to God. And if you look at all these religions, in one religion, lot of contradictions. Now when's the mess, uti God told me to do it. And there you can clearly see God does not speak to humans direct, because if uNkulunkulu ukhuluma nomuntu direct, then I mean it will have to be really a confused God. So umdali speaks to intermediaries, spiritual connectors, I will call them, and bona they choose emhlabeni people abazoconnecta nabo, and those humans then they start spreading that message and messages from the spiritual dimensions. You understand? And so when missionaries came, bas introduce to other connectors, bas keep connectors. Now obviously that was not done with the barrel of the gun. There was no gun placed kabantu. But choose, and they decided to choose. And the first ones, the indigenous leaders at the time, they betrayed amakhosi ethu, babetreya bona idalwa zaleli lizwe. One, babetreya abona abantu abathunyiwe imboni, the people babethola imessage, bababetreya, babasideline, babasusa duzane kwabo. And they accepted the religious connectors, the religious people, to become their advisors on spiritual matters. Then now amakhosi in return converted izizwe zabo to these Western religions. So ukufulathela kwethu kwedalwa zethu, that's where the problem started. The spiritual matter. That is what we must be cleansed from. Ngoba you can't come and talk cleansing ungazi ukuthi ucleansani. Si cleanswa from leli phutha elenzwa ngokhokho bethu ukufulathela nathi saliqhuma nathi. Saliqhuba to date by promoting these religions and neglecting our spiritual connectors and our physical connectors today. Sibabiza amagama amadimoni nalabo abaphila sibabiza amagama singabalaleli. And then so that's when ke manje kudingakala ukuthi uqala ukuhlanjululwe phela kulesi simo esasenza. And that is why, by the way, you see ukuthi Africans thought that it's about fighting umuntu omhlophe, gaining back the power. Umuntu omnyama gained the power, let's be honest. They gained, they go to parliament zimnyama, but yet uzibuze why kusese konakele. And why sometimes we are being sold by our own African leaders today. Kungani yini le case ekhoyo, yila cleansing ekhoyo. Now, how to go about cleansing? Cleansing, of course, differs. There's a cleansing your individual, personal problems. There's cleansing your kaya, kuyinkinga zelelo kaya. There's a cleansing of isizwe esithize, a certain clan from certain issues ezenzeka. Kube khona ke cleansing yezwe. Umuntu omnyama nje in general, African person needs a cleansing. La umuntu omnyama ekhona udinga this cleansing based on le yenzeka okufulathela idalwa zezo. And then ngoba now if you talk about cleansing umuntu omnyama, I mean, can we have all African people all over the world listening to one person? It's not going to happen. Now if we can't have a cleansing yomuntu omnyama wonke in general ezweni lonke, of course now you say okay, let's have a cleansing of a particular country, you know. And once that country, example, is cleansed, the cleansed people, abamnyama, can influence a cleansing, example, you know, of another country. Nabanye babone kubo babe example. Everything starts like that. It starts with a small. Even the very religions began like that. Now, how can a cleansing a country then take place? A cleansing a country, now we are under a political rule. We are no longer under a traditional rule. So the political leaders in the country first must acknowledge ukuthi could say Africa la must acknowledge where it went wrong. Must acknowledge ukuthi ngobani impela who are truly called for such matters. Then once they agree, of course, then kube cleansing yesizwe. Now already I think abalaleli nababukeli bayibona ukuthi yo problematic ngoba you already have political leaders who are mostly really not in support of the African indigenous spirituality. Inkolo yezwe abayisupport, bayisupport during election or sometimes just to appear good, but most of them you'll find ukuthi bona self bazi followers of Western religions. Already lapho phela konakele izolunga njani lento. That is why you see Ubaba Mutwa was ignored. Ubaba Mutwa was treated as this like old man or okhuluma nje into ezingekho. Ubaba uZwilezwe is ignored. And you see ukuthi political leaders zethu are normally going to, just for the sake of peace, ngabiza amagama, baya kwezi churches ezimixayo African spirituality ngapha zimixe ne Western religion ngapha. All about the numbers and influence and what bavile ma TV bavakashela lamasonto in which lamasonto sibe fair sibe neqiniso akukho laba sisakhona ngoba bona self badinga bona self ukuthi ba understand and make a decision yokuthi kahle kahle bakuphi baye ukumixa izinto. So they are not going to give us a direction, and that's why lamasonto maswabheke how old lamasonto madala here ayaziwa all over the world, but what contribution abayenzile in order ukubuyisela izwe in ukulungisizwe in terms of spirituality? They've done nothing. They are just religious institutions who are abazenzela into yabo like any other church. You know what I'm saying? They are busy minding their business, benza into yabo, but in terms of ukulungisizwe izwe ngeke bakwazi ukulungisizwe ngoba nesilungise African indigenous spirituality. So before sikhuluma ukuthi manje ke na how do you proceed ukuthi siligezeke izwe? First you have to have leaders. And I'm not saying kuvalwe other beliefs. I'm saying that kuse Africa la ukulungisa must have leaders abazawubeliever, have leaders abazawusupporter. Then from there kuhanjwe ke kuthiwa asihlambululeni isizwe sethu. Idalwa zethu sikwazi ukubuya zisibheke zisinake zisebenze zibe semandleni. Uzawubona izwe ke manje lizolunga. Okay, so I think lastly I have to make an example which maybe abaningi sebeyangazi manje. I like to give example of Muslims and Judaism. Now you look at Muslims, masiye more to your Arab states. At least lezi seziphumelelayo, seke lezi ezine problems. Your Dubai's and Abu Dhabi's and what. So one religion is one, they don't have a problem. The leaders there themselves, the parliaments there, everything there is going, in terms of belief, is going one belief. You understand? Judaism, of course, they could in Israel, but Israel is a mother of 3 religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So, inkinga yabo lapho bona yimpi yabo yokulwela izwe. Otherwise, Jews bona themselves, bona into yabi in order is Judaism. So ask yourself again, as Africa, but what is our belief? So, akho cleansing ongayenza if the leaders do not agree. Mawukhuluma nge-cleansing yesizwe. Anginawuhamba ngithi ngigeza izwe mina. Akakho umuntu ongahamba tugeza izwe. I-leaders ezwe zingekho.
That was very profound and deep from imboni yethu Dr. Uzileze Radebe. Sibonga kakhulu Dr. Follow Ncazelo leyo. Please do join us again kule veke ezayo as we bring to you again another thought-provoking topic. Sibonga kakhulu.